What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Emptiness, entitled Not For Music. This is released on Season of Mist. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Brussels, Belgium, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very bleak, experimental, avant-garde hybrid of both black metal and death metal. Yeah. My first introduction to this band was their 2012 third full-length album entitled Error. That album I thought was very awesome to listen to. Definitely an intriguing and original approach to extreme music. Just the way this band sounded, the way they approached their music and songwriting, just the overall vibe of this band seemed very dark and bleak sounding, but they made it work. And you could tell from an album like that that this band was going to be venturing into a direction that got more and more strange and different. I mean, these guys have been around for quite a good while. This is one of those bands that seems to be a hidden gem from within the realms of underground metal. Going back to earlier albums like Guilty to Exist and Oblivion, this band has really evolved with the times, and that same sort of evolution followed up for their 2014 fourth full-length album entitled Nothing But the Whole. Pretty much a continuation of their evolvement, not just within black metal and death metal, but even sounds that venture outside of that. It's almost as if this band is venturing into more post-punk, experimental sort of sounds with their music, while maintaining an element of metal in some sorts of instances. Now we have the fifth full-length from this band entitled Not For Music. It's 7 tracks, and it clocks in at around 41 minutes in length, and I would honestly have to say that this album is definitely the complete 180-degree turn that this band has been seeming to want to approach within their albums. Honestly, this in some cases, this does not feel like a metal album. There's the structuring and the elements that pop up in bits and spurts, but this album really has a bit of a challenging element going for it. And that's what I appreciate about an album like Not For Music. This is something that I've had to listen to multiple times in order to understand it. This is definitely one of those albums that gives you that sort of challenging aspect and approach. And I believe that with the multiple listenings, there's going to be some rewards reaped for an album like Not For Music. This is definitely a real gem and surprise, and something that should really be for any fan of experimental music that will want to give something a chance. And this is an album you should give a chance to. The experimentation really showcases itself in droves when it comes to the music, when it comes to the guitar playing, when it comes to the overall riffs and dedication. I mentioned the experimental post-punk synth sort of feelings you get when you listen to an album like this, and you can definitely tell from within the way the riffs sound, especially on the opening track, Meat Heart. It really does sound dark, dreary, and well established. I really love the guitar playing going on with that track. Then going on to the next song, It Might Be, where you hear a little bit of that tremolo riff action going on here. That's where I feel you get this band's metal influence. But as far as the rest of this record goes, there's really a lot of a variety and variations going on here with this album. Going to later tracks like Your Skin Won't Hide You, Digging the Sky, some really incredible riffs to be heard on this entire record. And one thing to point out about this album is the fact that someone behind this album was in the band Marilyn Manson. I believe the bassist, Twiggy Ramirez, very well-known, well-established bass player for Marilyn Manson, had a hand in giving this album a little bit of a different vibe when it came to the overall production sound. And I can attribute a lot of the musical success of a record like this to a very intriguing sort of production sound. I think it really works out well. The bass work on here is very good. It definitely accompanies the riffs that are being used in droves here throughout this record. Lots of good moments to be heard and played out. I definitely think that this is a very awesome album to listen to when it comes to the overall riff and bass work. The drumming on here is very good. Once again, going back to the more experimental aspects of this band, the experimental post-punk synthwave sort of elements going for the drumming. I really like this pace of the drummer. It's not fast or slow. I think everything has a very good pace going for it. It's very dark and mid-paced. That's where you get that almost gothic sort of feeling for it. And by gothic, I'm of course referring to stuff like maybe Typo Negative or even stuff that influenced that project. That's what I get when I listen to a drum performance throughout this record. It really is something that maintains the pace and keeps the tempo flowing up very, very well here. I love this drum performance and how natural it sounds. And since I mentioned synth a lot, there is a lot of emphasis of keys being used here for this record, and the key elements add that dense sort of atmosphere to an album like this. It adds to the overall vibe and approach that Not For Music brings, and I honestly think that is the best part of a record like Not For Music, is the inclusion of these keyboards, and I really think it sounds wonderful. And when it comes to the vocals, I really like this vocalist style on this record. It's an almost forced sort of whisper, very breathy, very well understood, but you can tell the anguish in this guy's voice. It really does sound fantastic to listen to, the way he sounds on songs like Meat Hard and Circle Girl. Even the lyrical content of a record like this speaks volumes. I really love what Emptiness bring when it comes to the lyric writing and songwriting of a record like Not For Music. It's very, very powerful and will definitely hit you within the heartstrings, I would say. If you listen to something like this and read along with the lyrics, it really does make that much of an impact. So overall, this is probably one of the more challenging albums to listen to in 2017. If you're expecting a blast fest, this is not the album to be listening to. If you're expecting over-the-top, crazy, insane metal, this is not the album for you to be checking out. But if you are into experimental music, experimental metal that will push your boundaries, challenge your mind, an album like Not For Music is something to behold. I appreciate that this band decided to take some serious risks with an album like this, and they have delivered what probably would be one of their best records to date. I'm very curious to see what the next evolution in a project like this, if they're going to even abandon or even keep any of the metal aspects that they've been known for throughout the years. But Emptiness really have made a very powerful mission statement with Not For Music. So if I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Meat Heart. It Might Be, Digging the Sky. This is just an awesome record, definitely worth repeated listens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you a link in the description box so you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Emptiness Bandcamp page where you can stream this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it by digitally, and it is available as a CD and 12-inch vinyl. You can buy vinyl through Season of Mist, and I believe Dark Descent Records has a special label exclusive variant that I believe is limited to 100 copies, because of course the last couple of Emptiness records were on Dark Descent. So it's cool that Dark Descent is getting involved in this in some sort of aspect. So, again, the album is Not For Music by Emptiness. This is released on Season of Mist. Go support this. And for a score, for the time being, I'm going to give this a very strong 8.5 out of 10. Very awesome music to be heard on here. Definitely, if you've been a fan of Emptiness's evolvement throughout the years, this is definitely an album to pay attention to. So if you happen to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it, and how you think it compares to previous Emptiness releases, or any of you guys into the band Emptiness. Definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel, and until the next time, Army Hope out.